Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at the B-Hyve XR Smart Indoor-Outdoor Sprinkler Timer that I picked up on Amazon for about $150, and you could tell because the seller slapped this big obnoxious sticker on the front of it. It does cover the fact showing that this is waterproof, as such designed to be used outdoors, and this is the 8-station version. Interesting note, I'll point out, the 16-station version of this on Amazon cost $171, and I'll show you what they actually add for an extra $21. So let's unbox. We have the main unit, supplied hardware, and documentation. We'll take a look at the main unit now. The cover is actually held on by magnets, not screws. How well that holds in the wind remains to be seen, but taking a look inside the unit, we will see the zones on this model labeled 1 through 8 plus common. We see a pump here, power supply, another common, connection for an old-fashioned rain sensor that comes shorted, as well as a 26-volt AC output. 3 independent LCD displays are built into the design of the external cabinet. Sadly, a standard AC cord is hardwired into the unit, and that means for the average consumer, there is no way to use this outside unless an outlet is co-located with the box. Looking at my old unit, we could see it's up against the wall and directly tied to mains power. There is no AC cord coming out plugged into any outlet. Option for an outdoor user would be to co-locate this box with a weatherproof outlet. It's really not ideal. I don't like it. I'll be modifying mine to run a cable through Liquidite directly into mains power. When I cut the edge of the plug off, I see that this is stranded copper, as I would expect, but I do not want to run stranded into my electrical box. So I'm going to open up the unit. We're going to have a look inside and see how we can modify this to run Romex out of the box through Liquidite. So with all the screws removed, I open up that back cover, and we do see that it is going right into an isolation transformer. I don't know why they couldn't put posts, but yeah, this is what they did. You'll notice this is the exact same hardware as the 16-zone unit, except the pick-and-place machine adds another $2 worth of hardware into it to make it a 16-zone and charges you $21 for it. I bet that one doesn't have a user-serviceable fuse either. Furthermore, the documentation says the backup battery is not replaceable, but clearly we could see it could be removed and replaced right here. If I'm being generous, there's only about $20 worth of parts in here. It's mostly empty. So the fact that they're trying to save a couple of pennies to take away stuff from the consumer, yeah, that's not cool. As I cut out this molding for the Liquidite, I'll remind people watching the video that watching this video does not make you an electrician, and not everybody is certified to go and modify the electrical on their box. If you do this, you do so at your own risk. That is my warning to you. So with the molding installed, I add the Liquidite fitting, which ironically they had a provision for in the molding in the first place, as you can see. It's a shame they just didn't provide everything else to allow people to connect their own cable to this unit. The Liquidite fitting now connected, this portion is now completed. We'll move on to the cable. The cables are crimped except for the ground, which is screwed in, and then a rubber cap is over it, as we can see. So we'll just cut those off right here. There's still enough for me to work with without removing the transformer. So I'm just going to cut these away. Get rid of this cable. And then I'll run my Romex up the bottom and route it as the other cable was routed into position with enough slack to work. Then I'll prep all of my wires. And secure these wires to the Romex. Once everything is set into position, I'll just move this area of cable to ensure that that screw hole is not obstructed, because there's one right there. Then I'll place the cover back on, making sure that there's no resistance, that everything fits just fine as before, and it does. The cover will then be tightened down, completing this modification, and everything looks good. We could continue. Compare this to the old box where you could tie mains right to this post over here. Also, the batteries right here were serviceable from the front as well as the fuse. This is everything a consumer would expect from an outdoor sprinkler unit. They really stuck it to the customer on this unit to save about 20 cents. I was, however, able to address that one major issue, and now I'll mount this. Adding a screw, it'll be mounted right here, and a hole will be cut to support it here as well. They did in fact include a level. Unbelievable, they added a level, they forgot everything else, but we do have the built-in level. And with that level, I'm able to mount it, and then install the bottom screw, having used the level to drill the hole. And with that screw installed, the box will be fully mounted onto the wall. Now I just need to dress my Romex in to mains power. I turn on the breaker, and after a few seconds, we see lights turn on, things start flashing. That's a good sign, so it looks like power is good. I had the wrong socket on hand, as you could tell, so I'll have to swap that out later. But in the meantime, I'm just going to check voltage on both sockets, make sure everything's okay before I continue. We're looking good, so let's continue and close everything up. Everything is all dressed up now, and what I'm going to do is just dress in my old zone wires to accommodate the new connection. I ran new molding for this as well, since it's off to the left. Note the box is red and Bluetooth pairing has expired. The relocation now completed, I'll wire up the box. An indicator here shows the stripped wire length, and I will just push down the button, and zone by zone, I will install and dress each cable. I know what color they are because I wrote them down. So there's my 4 zones. I put in a service loop for common in case I need to test common on the other side. I'll be removing this sensor cable, this shorted cable here, because we do have a mandated sensor connection where I live. It can be disabled in software, but for now, we're just going to hook it up for the video. At this point, I'm going to put this little short to the side here so I don't lose it, and all of my cable connections are done, so I'll close the box. And here we have my final install. We can now jump to software. Please take a moment to hit that like button down below. It really helps me out a lot when you do. We'll install the app on the iPad for better viewability in the video, typing in B-Hyve. I see 2 of them appear. One of them is a pro version for $9.99. We're not going to use that. We're going to open up the actual app here on the top right. I hit get. Once installed, I'll open it up. And sadly, it only runs in vertical mode. Restarting my video in vertical mode, I'll press create account. Filling in the account information is pretty straightforward. First name, last name, email, confirm email, password, and confirm password. Then pressing create account. We're then asked about notifications, rain delays, and watering events. I select yes. And then I select this is a new device. I then choose the Beehive XR on the top left. It asks if my device is powered on. Mine is, so I hit that button. And give permission for the app to use Bluetooth. Now it searches for the device for a few minutes and it doesn't find it. That's because the pairing had long since expired, showing red. I need to hit that B button 5 times, which I just did, and now it's rebooting. And when it comes out of the reboot, it'll go back into pairing mode, as we see here. The B having gone from red to blue on its indicator. With search running, it now finds the device. I select this matches my device, and it then connects to it via Bluetooth. It also pulls the wireless networks that it finds in the area, and matching one it found to the one on my phone, it automatically selects mine as a default. You would think all I would need to do is add my password and we'd be good to go. I also select remember my Wi-Fi password as an option. For whatever reason, at this point, the app would simply not allow me to type in a Wi-Fi password. Some sort of bug or glitch happened, so I hit back and tried again. The next time I was able to type it in, hitting that I to make sure that I typed it in correctly, and when I tried to connect, it told me it could not connect to my Wi-Fi network, even though the password was correct. So I went back and tried it again. I'll point out my network shows full bars on the app, and it still didn't work, so I decided after this failure I was just going to close the app, open it up again, and retry. Now in hindsight, if you wanted to use this configuration menus that come up when it's brand new, you would have to delete the device, but I didn't, so the app just opens up like a device is installed. As I click on devices, there's my device. It's not actually configured. It should know the configuration wasn't completed, but since it isn't, I'm just going to click on Update Wi-Fi Settings and continue. Once it finishes making a Bluetooth connection again, I will retry connecting to my Wi-Fi network. by selecting the network and then typing in the password and pressing connect to network. And though the router is only 10 feet away and the phone is on it, unable to join. So I go back and try again, and it reconnects. And I put in my network information. This time I unclick remember my Wi-Fi password for whatever reason. And this time it doesn't connect, but it says saving, and it didn't error. So I don't know what happened, but I'll tell you that it didn't connect. Not knowing that, I continued clicking on address, and I guess I could have clicked use current location. It probably wouldn't have worked because I was still on Bluetooth, but I typed in my address anyway. But then I get a notice about GPS notification, and I hit OK, and then I go back. And I decide to give this box a name to distinguish it from the other one that I managed down south. Then selecting it again, I'll now go down to update firmware. And this is probably where the wireless issue was. The firmware upgrade was generally uneventful until it got to 99% and just hung there indefinitely. However, looking at the box, we could see that it did reboot, but there's still no Wi-Fi as indicated here on the LCD screen. The firmware was updated from the previous 6.5 to the new 6.8. And with that firmware 6.8, there was no problem connecting to Wi-Fi after that. So definitely make sure looking at your device, if you're on at least firmware 6.8 before attempting to connect to Wi-Fi, will save you a lot of headaches. There's also a reset device connection option that's used if there's trouble connecting to your home network. So I don't know why I can't figure out how to do it itself if there's a problem, but apparently I'm going to hit this reset button just for good measure and for the video. A device should know when it can't connect to a network and establish a reconnect. And now the wireless error is gone. We're connected to the network, but as far as the Wi-Fi config and the amount of bugs we saw, that setup was a complete failure. We'll make our way back now so we could set up the zones going all the way back to the home screen. We can see nothing's configured. I look at program, smart watering is off, none of the timed metering is set. So I make my way to zones on the bottom, and we see zones to be added. I could press add all, but I'm going to add them individually. And there should only be 4 presented here. This shows more, but this is a 4-zone system. The software could have been smart enough to know that. The rest disappears when I hit save. And we're going to work with zone 1. Nothing's configured at this point. I turn smart watering to on, and then I hit smart zone details. Making my way down the selections, I will start with soil type. If you don't know what yours is, you could press the question mark below. I know mine is sand. Again, using the question mark, I know my lawn is warm turf. Generally the type of sprayers I have, because there's no way to combine them here. This zone is spray. How much sun this area is exposed to. Mine is mostly sun. And how much rain this area is exposed to. Mine is most of the rain. Is this zone flat or sloped? Mine is flat. And how many sprinkler heads do you have in this zone? If not sure, you could press the test button below to turn them on and count them. All the questions now answered, and even though I turned on smart watering before, it's off, so I turn it on again. Double check my work one last time, and then I'll hit the back button. Now I'll give this zone a more descriptive name than zone 1. I'm going to call this the driveway side. And then I'll press the camera button to take a photo of that area, allowing access to my camera. Set up a photo, snap it and save it, and now we're done. Finally, I hit test on the top right to make sure everything works, and after I'm satisfied, I hit stop. The other 3 zones have been configured in this manner with their appropriate settings given that particular zone. Now I press program, and I see my smart zones 1 through 4 up top. I select it, and given my county, I'll choose smart watering restrictions. I'll then enable watering restrictions. Currently, all the days of the week are enabled, so I'm going to disable all the days of the week and re-enable my watering days once I ask my wife what they are, being Wednesday and Saturday. I set the do not water parameter to block between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m., so it starts after 8 p.m. And with that, the smart watering is all configured. If you want to learn more about it, you can click that button above. That'll take you to a YouTube video when you click on it. With that configured, you can now click on calendar on the bottom left. That gives you an estimate of when the sprinkler is going to run and for how long based on the weather or the predicted weather. Obviously, these values are subject to change with changes in weather. The home screen now shows the scheduled program and when the next watering will begin. Clicking the chat box on the top right does open a help window if you need technical support. Going back to My Beehive, if we look closely, it says My Devices. It's in plural. There is a kind of okay system for implementing multiple devices. It's not awesome, but it works. And we'll do that now. On my other account, on its device, I would go to Devices, select it, and then go down to Device Sharing in this menu. I would then add a manager on that device. And on that device, I would then select Generate Access Code. On this device, on my login, I would then type that access code in, adding it to my account. Sounds complicated. It is. Why is adding somebody's device a device level config and not an account level config? I don't know. There is an area that allows you to revoke access if you wish. I'll do that now for this example. And on the device receiving the code, I would just press the plus button on the bottom in My Devices, press I have a code, type in said code. I'll type in the wrong one, for example, but then I typed in the right one, and we could see the second device was added. So on that very first run, starting Saturday at 8 p.m., I get a text at 8:04 that somebody needs to load a motorcycle up in my driveway, asks me to shut it off. And there is no way to pause the smart sprinkler. Once you stop it, it immediately jumps to when it's going to start watering again, which is now several days later at 8 o'clock. Looking at rain delay, it's like 12, 24 hours, whatever. You could water manually if you want, but there's nothing that says, hey, can I pause this for like 5 minutes? This is a feature they really need to add because sometimes you just need to stop your sprinklers for a moment. Now, they sell a cheap indoor version, which also doesn't have an accessible fuse or battery or AC power cord. The power cord being okay because indoors you'd expect to have a socket nearby. But really, in the end, that means the XR is just an indoor sprinkler timer with a slightly different case and a much higher price. Unless, of course, you're capable of modifying the electrical yourself. And that concludes my review of this Beehive XR outdoor smart sprinkler timer. They really made some shortcuts here on the hardware, such as the power, as I've mentioned, as well as the internal battery access and fuse that took away stuff from the consumer that unfortunately cannot be fixed with a firmware update. That said, hopefully the issues with the network connectivity could be fixed with subsequent firmware updates, and the software itself needs a little bit of work and functionality. It's okay, it does the job. There's a lot of potential, and they missed the mark on it. Sadly, not amazing. That said, there are other smart sprinkler systems on the market, and I do encourage you to shop around. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below, helps me out a lot when you do, and hit that subscribe button for more videos like this when they come out. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?